Okay, TK, are you ready to go? Get going? So I just wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
make a quick introduction and do a little house cleaning before we start the call today. So we'd like to thank everyone for joining and taking the time out of their day to join us. Everyone who is joining us, let alone from people from INTEG8 and HP, are going to be getting headphones from Skull Candy. We will be reaching out to you and asking where you'd like them to be shipped to, and we'll get them over to you as soon as possible. And then after that, just wanted to do a quick introduction as to kind of who we are and what we do. So INTEG8, we're a managed print services organization. We manage print devices under a cost per page model to thousands of organizations across North America. And we're continuing to do so even through the pandemic that's happening right now. And right now, what we wanted to do is share the future of printing with HP, as we are a premier partner with HP. So we wanted to share and work very closely with them. So we wanted to share some of that information with you. And also talk, if anyone on the call, if you're interested in some solutions, HP has a lot of different solutions out there that, feel free to reach out to your contact at INTEG8 to talk about, access control. A lot of things are happening right now. People want to social distance. So being able to walk up to your machine and being able to tap your badge and not have lineups on the machine so people see them there. You don't have your device or your print jobs and people aren't touching them. So, a pull print solution is something that we can talk about. Same thing with capture and routing of documents. Right now, HP has a great product that you're actually able to capture and route documents even from a cell phone. So we can help you through that as people are working from home. And then also with an HP security to make sure that you have the most secure devices in the planet, which HPs are, but also to make sure that they are set up properly. So we can help you with that as well. So few housekeeping items. We are open. This is an open conversation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into your box. We will go through them as we have this conversation and then go from there. And then again, with the giveaway with the Skull Candy headphones, we will be sending them out to everybody who's part of the call today. Okay, so thank you very much. And so without further ado, I'll pass it on to TK from HP. And if you want to introduce yourself, we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
Hey, sounds great. Sounds great, JP. Thank you very much. And yeah, it is fantastic to be with everybody virtually. I sure wish we were able to gather personally and maybe have some lunch together and talk about this stuff and even show you one of these products in person. But obviously, the current pandemic situation is not going to allow that. But I'm happy to be here virtually with you. My name is TK Hallberg. I work for HP as our category manager for our A3 or the ledger and the larger copiers for the PageWide side of the house in North America. We also, of course, have our LaserJet printers still, and they are fantastic devices as well. And the beauty of HP is that we have both types of printing technologies available, and we really want to help you to understand the advantages and the flexibility of the PageWide devices in the next hour. So I really do appreciate JP throwing out the fact that we want to make this as interactive as possible because we are not face-to-face. So please use the question and answer section of the Zoom meeting room and let us know if there's something that piques your interest, or if there's something you want me to dive deeper into, or if you have a specific question that we can address, please let us know that way. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right in here and talk about what your IT folks and what is keeping you up at night, right, in your business. And, it's interesting, this slide was made before the pandemic situation, but boosting productivity and in an evolving workplace couldn't be more accurate than today, because our workplace has certainly evolved. Each of your workplaces are likely in different places. For sure, they're in different places than they were a few months ago. But some of you have been working throughout this pandemic inside of an office or some sort of business, and others have been working from home. And the goal of a business owner would, of course, be to continue to boost productivity for the entire organization. Managing costs throughout all of that is still something top of mind to be able to keep the business afloat in some cases, to keep it solvent, and to keep employees with their income and with the needs that they have. Boy, what keeps you up at night? I'd say there's a lot right now. It's been a stressful few months here, and hopefully we can give you guys a few different insights on ways to improve some of your situations with regard to these items. And lastly, solving security threats. 6,500 breaches were reported in 2018 with 5 billion records exposed. So we need to ensure that our data, our networks, our printers are secure. That's really hasn't changed since the beginning of the COVID situation. Printing remains integral. 91% of businesses maintain that printing will remain important. Now, this is absolutely true. We're seeing this inside of our remote offices, our home offices. People, as they shift to work from home more often, are still printing, whether they be printing inside their home or printing remotely into their office, where others are retrieving those documents or storing those documents, shipping those documents out to others. We're still seeing printing continue to grow, and print security is increasingly critical. We need to make sure that we are considering the print security piece. Now, of course, this is not a print security discussion right now. I know you guys have, there's many different areas that INTEG8 offers print security services and education on print security. So please reach out to them to make sure that you know where you sit and your organization sits with regard to your printers and the security of those printers to ensure that they've been locked down appropriately. All of the PageWide devices offer the same print security, the world's most secure printers, as do the LaserJet devices, right? All of our enterprise devices are fit into this world's most secure printers category. On the left side, you'll see that we obviously have more device choices. We have a very broad portfolio for both our A3 and our A4 devices. Single function printers, multifunction printers, scanners, they're all available. Every need that you might have from a hard copy need would be available in our portfolio. Now the third column over, this PageWide affordable color, that's where we're going to focus today. It's a new technology to the office in the last couple of years. We've had this technology for many, many years available in our presses. I'm going to show you a slide that shows a little bit of that history to help you to see that this is not a technology that we just introduced yesterday, right? It has billions of pages that have gone through this printing process and is very well established and dependable. Lastly, our goal for you is maximum uptime. You know, I know that INTEG8 offers fantastic managed print services and service technicians, but between you and me, we don't want to see them very often, right? We want to make sure that our devices are up and running so that we are not interrupting your business processes. And then when it does happen, we want the best partner in INTEG8 to come out and the best service technicians to come out and help us when there is an issue, but we want less downtime. I think we could all agree on that.
And sorry, and just to kind of on that point, we at INTEG8 we did a study on our machines that have been out there, and we put them against the PageWide devices, and service calls between the PageWide and our traditional laser multifunction devices, they're down by 78% from your traditional device. So, which is huge. So think about how that would save your time and anxiety from the IT department. So it's we found that to be a huge number. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's phenomenal, JP. And you know, right now, especially with the social distancing and everything we're trying to accomplish, you know, we don't want service technicians to have to come in to fix things, right? We want things to just continue to run as designed, right?
Yep.
Very good. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that statistic, and it really does make a big difference which technology is in your office. All right. Well, one last slide here before we start digging in deeper onto PageWide. when we look at both PageWide and LaserJet, BLI or Buyers Lab has given HP the award for the most reliable business printer and MFP brand. And so let me just read this quote down here to you. It says, HP has long been known as an industry leader, time and again, exceeding our expectations in hands-on evaluations. From business class inkjets and enterprise class laser devices, the HP models tested stood head and shoulders above the rest. That's from our Key Point Intelligence folks at Buyers Lab that are a third party. And they gave a fantastic award to HP here. That being said, most of you on the phone here need both PageWide and LaserJet. I would volunteer that you need both types of technologies in your office. More than likely, you already have a LaserJet, right? I mean, HP has been tried and true with laser printing, and one of the pioneers with laser printing in the office. And our LaserJet devices are just a de facto standard in many cases. Those devices have a fantastic service record. They print just exactly what you expect they're going to print every time. Now, PageWide gives you a little bit more flexibility, especially if you are in an office environment or a business that has been a little bit slower to adopt color printing, right? If you have been printing in monochrome and wanted to upgrade some of the areas to be able to print in color, but you just don't feel like you can justify the cost, that's where PageWide can come in. It can really help with a lower cost printing option for that internal color document printing. You can see that first bullet point here on the left. Customers who want to save costs on internal color document printing where PageWide image quality is acceptable. Now, when I say acceptable, it's not to say that the image quality on a PageWide is less than a LaserJet. It's just that it's different. And it is more dependent on the on the paper type that you load into the device. If you want to print on the least expensive recycled copy paper that you can find, I would suggest printing on LaserJet because it will melt that toner to the top of that page just like you have seen in the past. On a PageWide, that ink that comes from the PageWide is going to seep into that really, really cheap paper, and you're not going to have the quality that you would want to see. But if you are able to use not the least expensive paper, but not expensive paper, right? We're talking percentages of a penny more for a little bit better paper, you're going to experience fantastic output, especially for that internal office environment with PageWide. Second bullet point there on the left, customers who want to move their mono customer facing documents to color but can't afford laser, and environmentally sensitive customers. So these devices, really in essence, if you're printing on a PageWide on a glossy page, will actually produce better output than a LaserJet. So don't get caught up in the fact that we publish here where image quality is acceptable. We just need to ensure that we understand why and how this technology is a little bit different. And we're going to watch. Yes, please.
Before we get into the video, so one of the things that we've noticed and having conversations with our customers and potential customers when we're offering the difference between a LaserJet and PageWide, it's really, the PageWide is really for office use, right? So it's really, the cost per page is significantly different, which we'll talk about. And you can save a lot of money, a lot less consumables have to go into the machine, a lot less moving parts. But the thing is that it's not that it's not good quality print, it's that it's a different quality print. And we kind of shared that there's a few other slides, but they are fantastic. And anyone who's on the call, if you're ever looking for something like this, we can show you the difference. We can email or we can mail them out to you guys, the difference between the two, if you send us samples, and we can show you what that difference would look like.
Yeah, thank you, JP.
Yeah,
and you got to see those print samples. They are fantastic.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're fantastic.
They really are. But sometimes you have biases, and people that have, their preferences, that's fine. And certain areas of your business may need the LaserJet technology, and other areas, PageWide's going to be the right fit. We want to offer the most flexibility.
Yeah, and you know, if you're looking for, you know, that crazy color that you're going to put under a light box and stuff like that, the laser is where you're going to want to go. That's the difference, right? So if you want to start hitting those colors
Perfect.
and stuff like that, it's a little bit different.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and we're going to watch a video that takes you through something that's more exciting than my voice, taking you through the PageWide technology. So if this audio doesn't come through, JP, will you please
I will
speak
let
up
you
real
know.
quick? Okay,
Yep.
here we go, folks. Maximize this and hit Excellent. So folks, you know, when I watch that video, what I see is experience. I see the experience that HP has with printing in many, many years of printing in lasers, laser printing, as well as ink printing. And they've taken the best of everything that we've done over the years and brought it into this device. The flexibility of this device and the capabilities are amazing. I mean, I don't know if you saw in there the up to 80 pages per minute. And this is not a light production. We're not getting into production environments or any of that. This is general office printing, up to 80 pages per minute. It's fantastic. And this technology has its roots back over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. When we first started diving into this PageWide technology, the idea of PageWide is to have a print bar that extends across the width of the page. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. You saw it in the video a little bit, where basically the print bar is stationary. This isn't like an inkjet technology. You know, you think of your home inkjet printer that goes back and forth, the print head, and it takes some time to print out. The pages go past the print head very quickly, and the pigment-based ink is applied very quickly and is fixed to the page. It dries to the page very, very quickly. Now, back in 2010, we introduced our web press units. And as of 2018, we printed 230 billion pages through those devices using the PageWide technology. Just fantastic output. Many of your invoices you receive from companies and utility companies. Many of those actually come through these WebPress units now. In 2013, that's when we started into the office printing environment again with the OfficeJet X and the Enterprise X, the Pro X and the Enterprise X is what they were called. And then we released the PageWide XL large format, like the DesignJet type of devices that will allow you to print those 42-inch wide pages on a device that does not have a moving print head. And lastly, of course, page-wide printers we're going to talk about today. We'll dive deeper into that. And then at the bottom here, bottom right, our new 3D printing that is gaining speed and is really going to change the industrial world on its head. That is based on the PageWide technology as well. This multi-jet fusion technology is part of the PageWide family. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit more of the technology. Many of you are likely familiar with laser printing and the complexities of laser printing and the reason why they sometimes jam and sometimes we have different consumables and different parts that need to be replaced frequently is because the printing process is complex. You'll see listed up there in the blue 5 steps, 15 contact points to create each page. Each of these red dots is one of those contact points. And the paper and the image will go past these different contact points depending on which printer. Sometimes the paper goes past these contact points. Other times it's only a transfer belt where the image is applied to that transfer belt, and then at the end it's applied to the paper. You can see right here at the end of this process. But the point is, every time a page is printed, wear and usage happens to each of these consumables, okay? And that can cause paper jams, but it could also, it's not very common that you have paper jams. More likely and more important is to understand that each of these consumables is worn and used with each page that goes through this printing process, okay? And that is going to wear down, and those consumables are going to be consumed very quickly compared to the PageWide technology. The next slide here is showing the simplicity of PageWide printing. We have a print head. It's stationary. It's 11 inches wide. So every time a page goes past that print head, whether it's 11 by 17 or 8.5 by 11, right? Letter, legal, tabloid, ledger, all of that is going to go through without that print head having to move at all. And all of the there's of course redundant print nozzles inside of that print head if there's a problem with one of those nozzles. And as you look through the bullet points here, the bottom left, only printing component moving inside the device is paper. That's really important to understand. There's none of these other belts or these other imaging drums and these rollers to move stuff through the device. It's only the paper that's moving through and passing the print head. Of course, there are rollers that are pushing it into the print head and pushing it out, of the device, but the printing process is very simple.
So a quick question here, just if I can ask some kind of the misnomers of what's happening with this PageWide and stuff like that. So I think everyone on the call, they're pretty used to your traditional ink at home. And if say you're busy, you don't use it for 4 months. I got to blow on it. I got to put it under a heater. I got to throw it under water, trying to get it going. Why is this different, and what is that going to look like? Especially now that if people go back to COVID, they haven't been in their office for a while. What makes this different than a normal inkjet?
Very good. Yeah, that's a great question, JP. So really, these devices, because they do have ink inside of them, they are susceptible to some of those challenges if they're not taken care of appropriately. So if these devices are left plugged in, even if they're powered down, they will continue to ensure that the proper humidity and the proper capping is taking place with those devices. Now, if one of these devices needs to be stored in a long-term situation, even longer, say for a year, even longer than this pandemic situation has thrown us just yet, those devices can be properly capped and preserved so that there will not be an issue, a year from now. But really, as we understand how this technology works, as long as it's plugged in and shut down appropriately, that device is going to continue to condition itself with very, very, very limited electricity use, right? So even though it's, many of our devices, our smart devices nowadays, you turn off the power, they still have a little LED light on. So they are still conditioning and taking care of themselves. Once, if there is some of the ink that dries up in the device will fix itself in most situations. Sometimes it will just need to purge a little bit of the ink to make everything come back to normal. And at times you may need to have a technician come out to help you. But more often than not, everything self heals if there is some of that drying up, because the device was completely um, absent of power.
Yeah. And I'll give you a little story. There's actually a college in the GTA in Toronto that had this machine up and running. We had it there, and they did leave it plugged in, but they haven't gone there until actually yesterday. It's kind of funny, and they started using it, and they were very surprised as to like it started up quick. There was no warm time, and they were just like, wow, like this was, they started printing to a competitor machine as well, and it took like 5 minutes for it to get up and running again. So.
Wow.
It was a huge difference. They were beside themselves as to how well it worked with all that. Just 3.5 months that they didn't use it. So
that's great, great to hear. Very resilient. Yeah, absolutely. Now, thanks for that real world experience as things come back to the new normal.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, many of you on the phone are in different segments, right? Vertical markets that we call your businesses from a HP perspective or INTEG8's perspective. Each of your segments have different needs, and these are some of the more successful segments where we've seen PageWide really make a big difference. With education inside of the schools, you're going to see that that color and the cost for consumables is oftentimes scrutinized, and oftentimes they're left with black and white printing, and bringing PageWide into those environments is very, very impactful for those students. So education is a great place. Healthcare, of course, right now with the COVID situation, having more of these devices that have clean room certification, right? If down in manufacturing, it talks a little bit about how our devices do not emit toner particulates during the printing process, and they perform within the clean room environment guidelines. That's key for both manufacturing for a clean room, but also in healthcare. There's needs for these devices in certain areas where the toner particulates are not welcome. Okay. Financial services and insurance, that's very historically very monochrome centric, and to be able to bring a splash of color into those documents for their customers is very, very key and makes a very big difference. And lastly, public sector, of course, their operating costs are always looking to lower those operating costs.
So just, sorry, one more thing on the healthcare
Please.
and the manufacturing. We've definitely found within healthcare, because there is no fan on these units, on these PageWide units, especially within construction sites as well, healthcare and manufacturing, that the dirt that's in the rooms, anything that's happening, that's why there is less maintenance, because it's not bringing dirt into the machine to cool down the internal. So we found that was a huge advantage over this. And here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a little more information what JP's talking about, right? They are certified or will be soon certified for this clean room certification. It's very unique to PageWide technology, but down here at the bottom, what JP was mentioning, it's very interesting because they're also highly suitable for very dirty and dusty environments because of that, those details that he was calling out. We have these documents that you can use if you do have that situation where you have a clean room, where you can refer to and use to ensure that any interested parties will know that these devices are certified.
So just kind of quickly, everyone on the line, we've recently a very large construction company is a few of them, actually 3 of them, are actually sending these out to their sites now. This is going to be their standard moving forward, and on their sites it's very dusty. So because there is no fan, for them, they did some testing and they found that it was way less service calls happening, which was amazing for them. And also within healthcare, we've actually implemented some of these within some retirement communities as of late, and a little bit before this happened, and rolling it out while it was happening. And we had to be very careful when going into those facilities. But this was an amazing machine for that. That it kept everything clean. Anyone with compromised immunities, this was the cleanest device that you can actually put into those facilities. So just wanted to share that.
No, I think that's great input. And there's not a special model that is certified, right? This is all of the PageWide devices.
Yeah.
So it's true that we can certainly highlight that for any environment that really requires it.
Yeah.
But any general office environment is going to benefit from less pollution,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Absolutely,
100%.
absolutely. So reminder that this is not a clean room edition that we're talking about, right?
Yep.
This is every PageWide device.
Yeah, and then anyone, and the other thing is that the PageWide, it's not just only the big machines, the big copiers. They actually have desktop machines and printers that are PageWide as well. So you can actually do a balanced deployment with the PageWide applications across the office. So you're not just segmented to just A3 products, which is 11 by 17.
I'm just looking here at the webinar chat here, and Denise asks, so what about workplace spaces with emissions for sound? So I'm guessing how noisy are these devices compared to laser, and these are very quiet devices, right? I can't say that they are silent, right? Because you got paper moving and things like that, but these are also very, very good when you have environments where you want to limit the noise as much as possible. I can't say that they're quieter than every laser jet, but I know that they're quieter than most laser jets that are out there, or laser printers. Okay, well, let me go ahead and jump to the next slide that talks a little bit more about the environment, right? Environmentally friendly office printing technology. So we talk about how none of those PageWide devices are special clean room certified. Well, that plays right in here into the environmentally friendly office printing technology, both from a power consumption perspective, as well as the number of consumables that we have to install into the devices. Well, every time you install a consumable, an ink cartridge, a toner cartridge, an imaging drum, that component came packaged. And so we need to be aware of the fact that there's far less packaging and landfill impact from these PageWide devices from any of the laser counterparts. So if you look at the numbers here, the far left, we can reduce the carbon footprint of printing by up to 55%, right? So that is over 10,000 pages to save 5 gallons of gas, right? Or what's that, almost 20 liters of gas per 10,000 pages. So that's sometimes in a month, right? A lot of times these devices are used for 1 month. That's not bad, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, we use up to 84% less energy than laser printers because we're not melting the toner to the device. I'm sorry, to the page. We're not melting toner. So these devices are very efficient. We are down below there. You'll see we are Energy Star certified, EPEAT Silver rated, and Blue Angel compliant. Very, very competitive, really best in class when it comes to having an environmentally friendly office printing technology.
And the thing that helps with that, and I'm not much of speed and feeds kind of person. It's kind of really what the best unit is for the environment. But your traditional laser machines, they take more energy to warm up, so it has to get it going, and then it makes the first page come out in the day a lot longer to come out. So that's what
it certainly does.
So that's a huge benefit as well for people who just want to start going and get the machine up and running.
And depending on the machine, that fuser and all of those components inside of a laser, they may stay on so that first page out can be faster once the office hours have started. And that just gobbles up electricity as well, right? So there's a lot of considerations where or else it has to cool down and then fire back up again if they don't do it that way, right? With PageWide, there's none of that.
And a lot of machines, what they do is what people do to kind of go around that is that they put a timer on the machine, and they're like, okay, well, we'll turn this on at 6 o'clock when no one's in the office, and it'll start warming up. By the time people are there, then it's ready to go, right? So
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
this you don't have to do that with. So
Not
yeah.
at all. Yep. Yep. You're very, very good point. Okay, and the last point here, there's fewer consumables that generate up to 95% less supplies and packaging waste than comparable lasers, removing as much as 206 pounds from traditional waste streams each year versus laser competitors. And the next slide I have here actually is a very good illustration of that. These images are darn close to being to scale, right? I mean, I can't say they're exact, but if you look at the tape measure, you can see our 12-inch or 1-foot mark both on the top um, image from Lexmark and the bottom image from HP. And then the Ricoh, you can imagine that's a 4-foot pallet. And if I flip that measurement bar around, I get about 4 of those in that pallet. Now, how compelling is that image? And what it's doing is it's illustrating the graph on the left, right, where you can see the total consumables and packaging waste in pounds on 150,000 pages. So if
Oh,
you're
that's amazing.
printing, yeah, that's about a year's worth of printing in most situations, right? In most office environments.
Yep.
Don't you think that's amazing? How much less waste there is there?
And it's and not even to say about the waste, it's also about the storage, right? A lot of
Sure.
organizations, especially now with the pandemic, they may be reducing the size of their offices, keeping the same amount of people, and people working from home stuff, but they're not going to have all this storage. Like, look at that. That's a skid of things to hold and take care of, right? So, real estate costs money nowadays, right? So, if you go down to the PageWide, you're not, that's a cabinet right there, not like
Absolutely.
a whole copy room full of stuff. So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it's not only the packaging here, it's the actual components as well that need to get thrown out over that year, right? All of those boxes contain heavy duty plastic, and hopefully it gets recycled and appropriately disposed of. But on the PageWide, the only thing you're throwing out is really those ink cartridges, and then we have a couple of other components that you'd replace maybe once in the year, right? Once in that number of pages. So it's very, very environmentally friendly. If you have any types of environmental initiatives, this can fit nicely into those plans. Okay. All right. Well, last one around the environment. This is kind of a difficult chart to really understand where all the dots in this scattergram all fit. And I'm not going to read through all the calculations listed up there at the top, but the idea here is TEC stands for total energy consumption. You can see down here in the bottom left. And this graph is showing the HP PageWide devices at their different rated speeds, 40 pages per minute, 50, 60, 70, 80, and you can see the dots, about 45, 55, 70. This is where they fall in line against peers that use different amounts of electricity as you go up the y-axis, right? As you go upward in use of more electricity per page, you can see where the PageWide fits in the electricity consumption versus the competitive devices. Okay, left is single function and the right is multifunction. Very, very compelling showing those PageWide devices. Okay, great. All right, so sustainability makes good business sense. I think any one of you inside of your businesses could agree that we need to have devices that actually last, that actually are not disposable, right? We're not throwing out all kinds of packaging or components. The planet still is a very important topic to talk about, and the environment is very, very critical. I'm not going to read through this entire slide where our time is starting
Yeah.
to get a little tight. So
Yeah. I was
we
just
do
about to
have
say that.
a fantastic story there. Yeah, thanks, JP. When we compare against the competition, you can see that the PageWide down on the bottom left is where I really want you to focus, right? We call this the second to the last line where it says total parts and parts kits and potential service events over the life of the printer. The likely life of a contract, say 600,000 pages, that would be about 5 years. So like a 5-year lease. You are going to need 3 parts kits or 3 service visits to maintain this device. Don't get me wrong, there could be jams, there could be a problem here and there, maybe once a year. Those things happen, right? But the planned service needs are three parts and 3 visits versus the competition you can see over here to the right is a dramatically different story of how many parts would be needed over that 5-year period. And the number of visits, I mean, we're a third of the 9 here, right? Or half of, just under half of this Xerox competitor. Very, very compelling when you see how much more uptime you'll have. So in summary on the PageWide, low cost color, minimal interruptions, maximum uptime, and the world's most secure printing. Okay, we've touched on each of these topics, I think, very well. The next slide here shows you the breadth and depth of this portfolio. We have A3 and A4 devices. The speed bands you can see from the left all the way up to the right, up to 80 pages per minute using our general office printing. And I'm going to share with you in the next few slides what I mean by general office printing. But we want you to see that this is a very deep portfolio that would meet all of the different needs in your different departments. Let's talk about affordable color. Let's talk about what I just said, general office printing. We have different print capabilities and print quality levels inside these devices. You always have the option to print in professional color. Professional color is our laser light quality on most office papers. And it's going to afford you up to 20% lower cost per page than what you're currently spending on a color laser device. Okay, just the inherent technology and the pricing where these devices sit is going to save money versus existing color laser. Okay, that's just a fact where we are right now. And the print output of those pages is going to be fantastic. Now, when we started to talk a little bit about different print qualities where we are actually laying less ink on the page, a little bit less saturation, okay, with a fantastic image quality. It's not like we're just laying down a specific percentage of fewer drops of inks all the way across the page. We are very strategic about which areas of the page have less ink on them to preserve the best print quality possible in this general office print mode. Right here in the middle, up to 40% lower cost per page versus your existing color laser type of device. And what we do is, in that general office print, you're going to see up to 20% less ink use to make that happen. Now, what we would recommend in some situations, if you really want to take advantage of a less saturated page, is to deploy that print driver as the default setting. That will ensure that you will be able to maintain that lower cost on that device.
And sorry, and if I can kind of put it to, so that professional color, that full color, 20% coverage, a cost per page on something like that is going to be 5 cents and under on these machines, depending on what machine you get. So a huge difference between the cost per pages on a laser as well. And then the same thing, we have a lot of customers, and we'll show you in the next few slides quickly, guys, and we'll run out of time. But this is a big thing. A lot of companies just want to have black and white. The retention, when you have a little bit of color, a little bit of things popping out, makes a big difference to people who are reading the documents and people who are looking at them. And so to get something with a little bit of a pop like Color Save at 1.8 cents is a huge game changer in the industry. No one else is doing something like that, to be able to provide some color, for education, for healthcare, for real estate, for anything like that. So I'll kind of pass back on to you.
Hey, that's great. Yeah. So one thing that I do want to point out is that your devices, if you do purchase one of these PageWide devices, at the time of purchase, you need to decide if you'd like to have the general office print quality available inside of that device, or if you'd rather have the Color Save. It's one or the other on these devices at this point. The Color Save is brand new to the industry in the last year, and to bring it to market as quickly as possible, we needed to make the choice inside of these devices to make one available or the other. So as you look at these different print quality types, please be aware that the Color Save will take the place of general office. I just think that's important to mention as you're looking at these two different possibilities. But it's very compelling when you look at that pricing. And we've got some examples of color save the key point that I want to point out here is that you as a customer need to see these print samples in person to really understand how good they look. Okay, color save, if I'm a realtor and I have fact sheets out on a real estate sign, I'm going to want this color save output as opposed to mono every time, right? Your customers or potential customers are going to love that. All right. If I'm a teacher, I'm going to want to have my elementary school kids have a little bit of color inside of their diagrams versus mono every time. It's going to help them to understand and learn much, much better. And lastly, financial services for the government, healthcare. If we have any type of pie chart or any type of graph that's going to require a little bit of color to understand what they're reading and what they're classifying data into, that's where color really comes in to help with readership and retention and understanding of data. It's huge to have that splash of color, which at 1.8 cents a page, what INTEG8 is offering is just phenomenal. Now, like I say, take advantage of looking at print samples and ask yourself, don't ask yourself, is this as good as laser? Okay. It's different from laser. Laser, you cannot affect how much toner goes into these different areas to make it a lighter cyan, magenta, or yellow. Okay, it's not going to work the same way as we can with droplets of ink. And look at this and say, is this quality good enough for what I'm trying to accomplish at a much lower cost per page? Okay, that's really the conversation that we want to have. And if the conversation is not what you want to have and you just want laser, hey, get laser. We have it. It's awesome. It's fantastic. This is just another way for you to make a difference inside of your office environment with new technology and flexibility of PageWide.
So we have a question here from John, and it says, how does this handle CAD drawings on ledger size paper?
No problem at all, John. On ledger sized paper, the CAD drawings would be just fine. We haven't talked specifically about the paper. I mentioned that there are different types of paper out there. On a plain paper that is that's manufactured with what we call color lock technology, which is very nominal in cost. So if you walk into an office supply store, oftentimes you're going to see it less expensive than the normal bond paper. We would recommend using color lock paper because what it does is it keeps the ink closer to the surface of the page so it can dry quicker without absorbing into the paper. And so for that CAD drawing to be able to have those crisp lines, I would simply recommend making sure that you have a color lock logo on your plain paper. Okay, and that's very, very common, but that's going to make sure that you have the best line quality on those.
And sorry, and John, we do have, as I was saying, we do have some builders within across Canada using the PageWide, and they are on site using this for CAD drawings. And I know most of them are not using the color lock, which is recommended by HP, but they're not, and they're having absolutely no issues with it, and they're loving the product. Yeah.
And JP, that goes back also to our dirty environments, right?
Yeah, 100%.
All the dusty and absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. I'm sorry that I have so many caveats, you guys, when I talk about paper. I just have dealt with so many questions around it that sometimes I dive a little deeper and am a little conservative in the things that I say. But JP, I'm glad that you mentioned that just on plain paper, not concerned about anything. It looks great. It looks great.
And I know because you want to make sure you're covering the bases, but we've literally installed I don't know, hundreds of these machines. I've installed hundreds of machines over the past 2 years. And I'd probably say 5% of them are using the color lock. Everyone else is just using plain paper. So no one else has really seen a big issue. Unless you're doing 80% coverage on the page, then we recommend the color lock. But your general office print it really doesn't matter from my experience with selling these units and bringing them out to our customers.
JP, one thing I would request, and maybe I can help you even get what I'm going to request, is when we send out these Skull Candy headphones, which is, I
Yes.
think, a fantastic giveaway there. Everyone's a winner. Let's send out some print samples, for these.
100%. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, let's
Yep.
make sure we get a color save print sample in
Yep.
general office. I can help provide some of those for you if you need to, but
Yep.
we'll talk about that afterwards. But
For sure.
that's what it's all about, folks, is being able to actually see the output. Okay, it's pretty tough. If we were in a face-to-face session, I would have all kinds of print samples for you to see, and you'll feel great about the print quality. John
For
asks
sure.
in the
Yep.
Q&A section here, he says, I'm not clear on this technology versus laser for full page color blocks, like some black text on a full yellow page. This is where, John, I would likely suggest that you look at maybe color laser for that situation. It would work, but there might be some nuances with plain paper where the image with so much ink on it, if it's totally covered in yellow, you might start to see a little bit of a curl on
No, I
that
think
page.
so. I think what he's saying is that they'll have yellow paper, and then they just want to put black text on it.
Okay, yep, if that's the case, no problem there, right? If it's a yellow page and black text, no problem at all on that. But if you are covering that whole page with ink, that's going to be, that could be problematic. Okay. All right, so let's look at just in closing here, the page-wide technology advantages. We've talked about all of these bits and pieces. I mentioned the parts that need to be replaced like once a year. That's what you see in the bottom of this image, right? A maintenance ink module and a web service module. These are very easy to replace. But an INTEG8 technician would come out and swap these out for you, and that's it. That's it. And you can look through these different bullet points. We have the design advantages, the straight-through paper path, fewer moving parts, fewer consumables, no drums, developers, or fusers, low cost per page, up to 50% faster than competitors, less energy consumption and waste, and longer maintenance cycles. So this is really designed for our current times, right? With the COVID situation and with what we're going to return to in the new normal, PageWide is something that you definitely need to look at. And our final key takeaway slide here, we can change your organization, and we can, as the environment changes around us, you are going to be changing. And this technology is going to help you to be more efficient and really safer inside of your offices and inside of your different printing environments with affordable color, simple design, fast, world's most secure printer, and of course, the environment is prioritized with these devices. So JP, we've got 4 minutes left here. I'm going to pass it back to you, and if there's other questions, I'd be happy to address those, but let you close it out. If you're there, JP, you're on mute right now.
Sorry, yes, for sure. So what I was saying is, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to go through it. And if not, we at INTEG8, we work very closely with HP. We're very happy to speak with you about any of the products and technologies and solutions to help you guys go through this. I see a question here. Yes, we will give you this presentation. We can give you the slide deck, but we can also, we've recorded the presentation, so we will be sending it out to everybody who's part of it right now. So you can have a recording, you can share it within your organizations as well. But we really want to appreciate the time. Remember, right now, a lot of people really are looking for ways to have less contact with the machines. So this is something, having HP capture and route and having HP access control, which means it's a pull print solution coming from these machines. You can go up to it, swipe your access badge to your building. We can help you go through that and help you go get that up and running. So we will be sending everyone, I guess, and TK, that's a great idea. We'll be sending you some samples within the page, but everyone who has been registered here and who's been listening. We want to thank everybody coming on, and we look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to your great representative. Thank you very much, and everyone stay safe. Have a great day.
Thanks, JP.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, TK. Bye.